Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Your magical kiss, take me just so far. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Don't leave me like this, dangling from a star. You set me all aflame and it's so pleasing. It sure would be a shame if you were only teasing. So my love, before I go, turn the lights way down low and talk to me. Talk to me, talk to me.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. But Merry Christmas. This is the season that has brought us the wonderful country that used to be until we have what's running the country now and for the last many years. And they are showing their true colors every single day and moving us closer toward the truth. However, I'm going to continue my small part here, and I hope you will consider your part. Thomas Jefferson once said, "All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is to have good men and women stay silent when things aren't right." That's what we have today. That's what we have. Anyway, I'm Don McKeag. Ken Bukes is here in the studio doing along with the able help of our friend Steve. We're on every Thursday from 6 to 7, tough hour, supper hour. But I want to thank Paulie and others that have sent me Christmas cards thanking me for this show. I thank Kenny for doing it. I also do a radio show on WXTK every Saturday from 11 till 1. That's a 2-hour show where I try so hard, as I have for over 20 years, to give people a little bit of hope. Not that we can change things, because I don't know as we can anymore. It is just so terribly overwhelming. The Democratic Party, the liberal establishment, especially the media, just does not care about facts and figures anymore, and it is political correctness that is dominating and taking us down. Common sense now is disappearing as we speak. As we speak. We are a Christian Judeo nation. Still the greatest country in the world. Still the rock-solid core of this world staying somewhat peaceful. Without the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, tell your liberal college students, tell your kids' high school students, whose teachers badmouth their own country, who lie, tell them what they hear factually from conservative talk radio people, men and women. It is a war, ladies and gentlemen. It is no longer opinion. Everyone's entitled to opinion? No, they're not. Without experience and knowledge, an opinion is just that. It's like throwing something into the air. Where it falls, it falls. I wanted to just start with Christmas. Remember, if you don't know, it's eroding. It's been eroding by Catholic and Protestant and Jewish religious who will not stand up, who will not, any more than Congress, will not uphold the tenets of the church. Congress will not uphold the tenets of the Constitution. That's where we're going. I hate to do shows like this, and I have to do them all the time because there's so few voices out there. I was a school teacher for 12 years, taught English, loved it, coached, loved it, loved the kids. I felt very responsible to give the kids the best that I knew of what worked and what didn't. And certainly from a textbook to share my knowledge through college to give to them so that they could then, that's the way it used to be. And unfortunately what we've had is this drivel, this leftist anti-American drivel has taken over. History today in too many schools begins with the Civil War, with slavery. Doesn't begin with George Washington, doesn't begin with the colonists in Plymouth. They were evil, they were bad to the Indians. Nothing good about them. It has a life of its own, ladies and gentlemen. And along with it now we have people who have moved away from God. That's another reason, not so subtly, that they want to do away with Christmas. They want to do away with anything that has a dominant God force that tells human beings of their failings, of their weaknesses. It's called the 7 deadly sins. It also tells us of the 10 commandments that came from Moses. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet. On and on. What do we have? And this was not from Muslims. This was not from any non-Christian. This is from Christians who aren't Christians. We have a Congress, we had a president, through the Supreme Court passed a law not forbidding the 10 commandments to be on government buildings. Now, if you don't see that as a huge crack in the Liberty Bell, a crack in what this country is made of, none of this hogwash about being offensive to another religion. We are 76% Christian Judeo, still. At least that's what the polls have showed, but they don't care about that in the media. The atheists, the agnostics, the Muslims, anybody else, they want to bring us down, and that's what you want, and they're doing it with political correctness. I want to do a little humor before, because I found this in my file, and then I hope I can leave with a positive by talking about Christmas, talking about what it's supposed to be, which it isn't. Schools. Imagine schools. Public buildings. You can't put a creche out there. You can't put a Christian. It's offensive. This is that liberal claptrap that is, I'm not standing for it. Politically correct Santa. Are you there, Kenny? Yeah. I'm going to smile with this before I get back to the horror of what's going on. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and Santa's a wreck. How to live in a world that's politically correct. His workers no longer would answer to elves. Vertically challenged, they were calling themselves. And labor conditions at the North Pole were alleged by the union to stifle the soul. 4 reindeer had vanished without much propriety, released to the wilds by the Humane Society. And equal employment had made it quite clear that Santa had better not use just reindeer. So Dancer and Donna, Comet and Cupid were replaced with 4 pigs. You know that looked stupid. The runners had been ordered removed from his sleigh. The ruts were termed dangerous by the EPA. And people had started to call for the cops when they heard sled noises on their rooftops. Secondhand smoke from his pipe had his workers quite frightened. His fur-trimmed red suit was called unenlightened. And to show you the strangeness of life's ebbs and flows, Rudolph was suing over unauthorized use of his nose. He had gone on Geraldo in front of the nation, demanding millions in overdue compensation. So half of the reindeer were gone, and his wife, who suddenly said she'd had enough of this life, joined a self-help group packed and left in a whiz, demanding from now on her title was Ms. And as for the gifts, why, he'd ne'er had a notion that making a choice could cause so much commotion. Nothing of leather, nothing of fur, which meant nothing to him and nothing for her. Nothing that might be construed to pollute, nothing to aim, and nothing to shoot. Nothing that clamored or made lots of noise, nothing for just girls or just for the boys. Nothing that claimed to be gender specific. Nothing that's warlike or non-Pacific. No candy or sweets. They were bad for the teeth. Nothing that seemed to embellish a truth. And fairy tales, while not yet forbidden, were like Ken and Barbie, better off hidden. For they raised the hackles of those psychological who claimed the only good gift was one ecological. No baseball, no football. Someone could get hurt. Besides, playing sports exposed kids to dirt. Dolls were said to be sexist and should be passé. And Nintendo would rot your entire brain away. So Santa just stood there disheveled, perplexed. He just could not figure out what to do next. He tried to be merry, tried to be gay, but you've got to be careful with that word today. His sack was quite empty, limp to the ground. Nothing fully acceptable was to be found. Something special was needed, a gift that he might give to all without angering the left or the right. A gift that would satisfy with no indecision each group of people, every religion, every ethnicity, every hue, everyone, everywhere, even you. So here is that gift, its price beyond worth. May you and your loved ones enjoy peace on earth. The trouble is, we are not at peace on earth, and we are not going to be at peace on earth with the politically correct liberal establishment tearing us internally apart. And that is a sad, sad reality. See, last night, or yesterday afternoon, Michael Moore, that fruitcake, the director, a very homely person, ugly inside and out in my unfair treatment of him, standing in front of Trump Towers with a sign saying, Muslim solidarity, we are all Muslims. That's the kind of fruitcakes you have in this country. It's not about tolerance anymore, acceptance. It's about domination, and it's about fruitcakes. We are not all Muslims. Do our kids want to hear that from a director, movie director? I guess so. By the way, following a bus yesterday, you know me, former educator, sick to death of education, sick to death of it. One of the things that I've grabbed onto that Mr. Donald Trump has said, oh, that unfair, meanie. Nothing in this country governmentally is working properly. Nothing. Zero, zilch, nada. And education is another greedy institution that has been and continues to be abusive to taxpayers, abusive ultimately to the students who are there to learn. Not all, and this is not teachers, but teachers will do what these nitwit leftist administrators have become, and what these political nitwits in the state education are doing. You've heard me talk. I came home. Now, we've got Christmas vacation coming up. We've got New Year's coming up. Vacation after vacation. Kids home. Now, remember, our kids, depending upon what poll you look at, worldwide, we're listed as 17th to 21st. Yet we spend 5 to 9 times the money per student that every other country does. And, of course, they blame it on the kids and the parents, not on the nitwittery. I'm driving home from Plymouth Center yesterday. I see the buses. It's 11:45. Dropping kids off. I follow them. I pull down into the Furnace Parkway, whatever, the elementary or whatever. I want to know why the kids are coming home. Now remember, today's Thursday. That means yesterday's Wednesday. A woman comes running out, saying, I can't pull in there. I said, fine, could you just tell me one thing? She said, what? I said, why are the kids out of school? That means, remember, you liberal, well, the liberals aren't watching me, but remember you mothers and all you feel-good that I take you on because you're the soul of deterioration in this country. Bleeding heart nitwittery. It's a conference. Teachers' conferences. Which now remains, and I'm going to drum it home, I don't care who likes it. When I was going to school in Weymouth, Massachusetts, one, we didn't have that nonsense. You didn't have the classroom being interrupted every 2 seconds with some feel-good. Somebody dies in another building, for heaven's sake, and they have to have grief counseling for the kids. One of the kids, oh, does it make you feel good? That's for mummies. Oh, isn't that nice? They let our kids learn. None of the kids, most of the kids never knew the person that died, the kid that died. I'm not about not having compassion. But you add up the interruptions to the classroom, and it isn't the teacher's fault. So again, but the teachers, because of their raises and because of the deal they have now, as opposed to when I was in school, and many of you, they have abused it. The unions have got them right by there, and so has the Democratic Party, just to get the votes. Well, anyway, this means yesterday, a Wednesday, with Christmas coming up, working mothers who are already hard-pressed to do their shopping, everything else, and work full-time, some working 2 jobs. They won't have in-service days after the school day. College graduates, lawyers, secretaries, they work Saturdays, they work long hours, and I listen to teachers whine about how hard they work. I'm not suggesting some of them, the good ones, don't work hard. That's what you're supposed to do. That's another liberal flaw. Oh, don't get a job flipping burgers. That's beneath you. Oh, but it's not beneath you to sit home, sit on your computer, sit on your big butt, and have mommy drive you everywhere. That's not unacceptable, but working in a menial capacity, that's what we've got in control now. And they vote Democrat because it's liberal feel-good Nonsense. Now let's go to the Muslim situation. Okay, let's go back to what's jeopardizing this Christmas holiday that we've got coming up. First of all, it's become so stressful because of the media and because of businesses. We've got people working on Sunday. How about this one, ladies and gentlemen? Another thing on greed. People work on Sundays. When I was a kid, places were closed. Most places closed Sunday so that people could be home with their kids and go to church. Now, you don't think that's a big part of this undercurrent that's been, this isn't just happened this year. It's now coming to a head. And now we're electing people like Obama, who are half Muslim themselves. By the way, I just thought of this. Just so you know, I'm not a racist, never have been. Not a homophobe, I get along with everybody. It's up to behavior. How I behave to them is how they can judge me. How they behave to me is how I judge them. Simple as that. That's the way it should be. None of these preconceived ideas. To me, one of the great men in the 60s and 70s was Malcolm X. I can't remember what year. I guess he might have got killed in the late 60s or 70s. He was a militant black man. I have tremendous compassion for the black race, what they went through back in those 40s and 50s, the story of Jackie Robinson, what he had to go. Anyone with a heart, and if you don't have that heart, then, you know, those Southerners and all that nonsense that went on in the 60s, totally unacceptable, and we fought the fight to get rid of that. But we don't overpower the other side. Two wrongs don't make a right. Of course, cliches today now don't work with leftists. They either get their way or it's the highway. None of this, there's no. Whenever you hear these Democrats in the press talk about working with people, you know, going along and getting along with each other, it's sheer nonsense. They either get their way or they don't. Gay community wasn't going to stand for a civil union, which would have given all of the legal rights and all the habitation rights, everything. No, it had to be marriage. And I don't care. I'm against it. I was against it then. And I know gay people themselves. They've changed because, of course, they would certainly want to speak up in their own group and offend their own group. You never saw TV, you never saw 60 Minutes ever an interview a gay man or gay woman that didn't believe in gay marriage. There were many of them. They wanted the rights that civil unions would have given. Not good enough for the liberal Democrats who were in charge. So anyway, you go back to schools. It's for the kids. Oh, yeah? If it's for the kids, then why don't you administrators understand today we have working mothers? They're a majority. Why? To pay the property tax that places like Plymouth now, when it's 70% of the property tax. My father, my grandparents, my uncles, anybody had ever told them that for schools that are open 180 days a year, that they would be paying 70%, and you can't go at their budget because the Democrats made sure that the education budget was untouchable? Is that fair to the taxpayer? Carver just got voted for a new school. They're doing a new fire station and the police station. Their taxes are already off the chart, as are Plymouth's. Doesn't matter. Those groups, those school committees, all those little power groups, taxpayer, he or she's the last person that cares. And those of us that stand up will look like we're against kids. Administrators get raises, teachers get raises, and the parents, on top of what's going on now, the parents have to pay for their kid in the high school to have a parking space if he's driving his own car. The parents have to pay so that their kid can play football. And that's okay. UMass, my alma mater, just came out now. Marty Meehan, another political hack. $553,000 a year, plus all the benefits, travel. By the way, go to these new high schools, these new schools. All of you, I don't care We had a nice, I told you, from Duxbury, there's a lot of people listening to the show. I hear from a few of them. I hope we'll hear from you more. By the way, Kenny, have we got the phone number up there? This is a call in, even though I do all the talking, but I love it when somebody calls in. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. This is part of the rotting of this country, and make no bones about it. They lie, cheat. It's all about how much money. And Massachusetts has raised their, where's Warren? Where's that champion, you women out there, Elizabeth Warren, that was going to help and set up a way to pay? Yeah, that's the idea. Make taxpayers, on top of giving them all raises, make taxpayers responsible for the raises that this bird brain Meehan and 4 others, it's huge. Howie Carr had it on. I'm going to talk about it Saturday. Merry Christmas. They gave each other like 20 grand in some cases of minor positions. In the same token, they increased state school tuition. In these times, and you working couples, and those of you watching me that are retired, I know you've got daughters and sons that are raising families, and they're saving money. They're working an extra job so that they can save and put money aside to send them to college. Then how do you like when half of them can't get in? They're residents, their parents, their grandparents have all been residents of Massachusetts, but there's a line in front of them from Pakistan, from India, from everywhere else, and they come in for free.
Got a call.
Well, caller, welcome to the Don McKeag tirade, and I won't stop, but I will to hear you.
Okay, Don. Listen, you're on one of my favorite topics, schools, and the administration of and the dysfunctional operation that they are. I was reading the Old Colony Memorial last Wednesday's edition, a story in there about Rising Tide tweaks new high school design. And Rising Tide, of course, is a charter school in Plymouth with a very good record. And, of course, this doesn't sit well with the school administration. They don't sit well with a lot of the hanger-oners and people that associate with the school system. So
Yeah.
They pretty much have the go-ahead to do what they want to do, but they have a meeting in front of the planning board. The planning board says, okay, we don't like your facade. You're using sheet metal or something, some kind of, it's not a fancy-dancy school like public schools are because they're operating on a budget.
They have a bottom line, correct, like Catholic schools, too.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there's a few things in there like that. And then, of course, the abutters is a optometrist that has a multi-million-dollar building they just put in up there on Commerce Way, and that's where they're going with this new high school. And woman that works in there, of course, she says, I'm afraid for the safety of those students because people leaving my office with the juice in their eyes, they won't be able to see them. These kids are going to be in danger. Well, you know what? How about the people out there driving, regular people driving their cars? Aren't they in danger from these same people? She should be shut down or made to do something to make sure that those people aren't out driving on the road. But, it just seems like...
nonsense. You know what it is. It's nonsense.
You have a system that is working very nicely, and everybody wants to get in the way. And if you go over there to that charter school that's there right now, the Rising Tide, they'll be celebrating Christmas there. They'll be doing a lot of things that won't be going on in the public system because people that send their kids there want that to happen. It's unbelievable where we're going these days.
Well, it's only unbelievable if people don't get the fact that when you vote for people who promise to spend more of your money or promise to give you something for nothing or promise they're going to take better care of your kids, and that's the reason you vote, not for someone who says, I'm going to build a school that this town can be proud of, but it can also afford. We're not going to have all the frills, I know so much about education, and I don't care whether teachers or friends or anybody likes it, because it's an absolute disgrace right now, monetarily, never mind academically. I mean, you've got schools being built now, and you've got towns putting field after field after field that gets used maybe 20 times a year. Never mind setting it up so you schedule the different schools to use the same 3 fields or something like that, cut the cost down. Carver's building, I heard one of the arguments for one of the new schools is a couple of the classrooms didn't have windows in them. Now, when I was going to school, one of the reasons you didn't have windows in some of the classrooms, in fact, a lot of them, was to stop kids from daydreaming and have them paying attention to the teacher. And don't give me this crapola these liberals have about air, fresh air. They've got air conditioning now. The air condition is not any kind of problem. What it is they went and took we used to go to schools that were 3 stories high. Why? Because the kids, first of all, you wouldn't have so little fatsos if they had to walk up and down the stairs. It was easier to schedule the classes in the classrooms. We had 25 and 30. Now you got no cutbacks for teachers or administrators when there's enrollment is down. Wareham talked about it. Their enrollment's been down 5 or 6 straight years. It's either Wareham or Bourne. Somebody hears that. But I mean, there's no adjustments. And like you say, the private schools, Catholic schools, they have a budget. And as a result, the teachers don't make as much as the public schools. And as a result, by the way, it's very interesting how parallel the academic achievements in both those private schools and Catholic schools is much higher. And what is the public school? They lie and cheat and fraud in terms of watering down exams. Excuse me, go ahead. You just touched my...
No,
and nothing's ever done. Nobody in the town... Well, somebody like me, do you think I can get elected? Of course not.
The results coming out of a public school versus a charter school, private school. The private school is over and above. And this really rubs those people the wrong way.
Yeah, instead of correcting their own act, see, that's how lazy and how they're dishonest. That's all. Liberals in general are dishonest anyway.
Yeah.
They're control freaks, and don't ask them to ever admit they're wrong, and don't ever ask them to hold themselves in control on a budget. They'll never do it.
Yeah. Then the other side of the coin is this. You talk about construction. I'm sure that this school they're going to build over there will pass the test. And it will, more than likely, be as safe as any other school built in this Commonwealth. But the school we're building down in South Plymouth right now, Plymouth South, rebuilding after the other school that was built down there, 20-some years old, 22, 23 years old.
Yep.
And here we are replacing it in the hole.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that Barnstable did it. It's all over the place.
No problem. 20-year-old school.
Yeah, they don't care. Nantucket did the same thing. They tore down a school, I think it was only 8 years old. Yeah. And I had the restaurant over in Carver called the Cranebrook. And I ended up getting all the windows that we, Nantucket, paid for. Of course, we did too, because as you know, the other fraud about education, about schools, is that the way they get these schools is to have a town meeting. Anybody that goes, of course, half the town meeting's made up of government employees, which should be conflict of interest. They should have to abstain, but no, not. And Carver, of course, they even had a selectman that was an acting police officer. That's perfectly all right. We had a nitwit stand up and say he thought a teacher should be able to run for school committee. I mean, this is liberalism that is tearing us apart, Carla, you know?
Well, this school will be built. It will be built, and they don't have to meet all the approval of our planning board or anything else.
Yep.
They can go ahead and build it according to state specifications, and our planning board has to accept it. The other side of the coin is, you know, here's this big story on the inside page about this private school, and then on the front page of this very newspaper, same newspaper, town hall construction officially begins. We're over there rebuilding an 1820 courthouse that should be if it's not going to be used as a national monument, should be torn down as an unsafe building. Once they open that thing up, $33 million is what they're quoting or estimating it's going to cost. By the time they open it up and find all the crooks and nannies and things that's buried behind those walls, they're going to be in $50 million plus.
Of course they are. They lie like they all do it. Every one of them. There's never come in under budget or even close to the existing budget. And you know what I love about Plymouth now, and I like Plymouth a lot, and I like the people in Plymouth, and I'm proud of Plymouth in some ways, mostly the individuals, but they're just like most of the towns. They're going to lose $10 million a year in tax revenue when they close down the power plant.
Right.
A couple of friends of mine said, oh, that's all been taken care of. Oh, does anybody in the newspaper or anybody in the town have the courage to stand up and go to a selectmen's meeting and say, I want to hear a detailed explanation of how we're supposed to pick up a loss of $10 million and then also pick up another increase in Plymouth South School and in a courthouse.
Yep.
But you won't.
Years ago.
Because people, just like I said, Thomas Jefferson, for tyranny, that's in 1806 or something, for tyranny to take over, all it takes is for good men and women today to keep their mouths shut. And that's what we have today. The newspapers, that rotten, stinking media, you know, there's freedom of the press, but it never, ever anticipated freedom to lie. And the press lies.
Many years ago, this when they opened up and fired up the power plant, Plymouth had a windfall. And there were certain people in town that warned against living off the hog.
Yep.
They lived higher than they, you know.
Of course they did. They still are.
Well,
the same people are. And you know, not only that, they don't get fired. You can't fire them if they've been elected. And their answer is, well, just don't elect them. Well, they know they're going to get reelected because all the handouts, the people looking for handouts, and the people who are being paid by the government, they're never going to vote against somebody that's taking care of them, even if it's irresponsible.
There were people many years ago that warned against the very thing that is coming down the
Correct.
pike right
Well,
now.
they don't, like I've said, if you listen to me, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it, and greed is there. That's why I talk about the 7 deadly sins. That's why I talk about every country every great country that's lost its religious core, its belief in doing what's right, it's caring for one another, it's being financially fiscal. Every one of them that's allowed that to disappear, disappears with it.
Well,
so thanks for your call.
I'm going to go off, and good talking to you.
Well, thank you very much for calling. I hope we'll see more callers.
Yeah.
If you keep listening too, I'm going to add to this. In 1887, Alexander Tyler, 1887, a Scottish history professor at the University of Edinburgh. This is when professors talked about the truth, not so many now that sway it into their political correctness. He says the Athenian Republic some 2,000 years ago said that a democracy is always temporary in nature. It simply cannot exist as a permanent form of government. You listen to this, and I hope you'll jot these down. And again, at the Christmas gatherings, not that I want to see people arguing during Christmas, but when you're sitting at the Christmas dinner table and you hear this BS coming from your college grandchildren or whatever, a democracy will continue to exist up until the time that voters discover that they can vote themselves generous gifts from the public treasury. Now, if you don't understand that, it means when you now have government employees dictating to the politicians and electing politicians like the Democrats who do nothing except service the unions and service the public unions. Again, unions are just the same difference. Unions that are from a private sector still have a bottom line in terms of negotiating. Unions in the public sector don't. And they don't care. Their idea is to continue to get their members raises. The time that voters discover that they can vote themselves, basically pay raises in the public treasury, from that moment on, the majority always votes for the candidates who promise the most benefits from the public treasury, with the result that every democracy will finally collapse over loose fiscal policy, which, by the way, historically is always followed by a democracy, by a dictatorship. Now, that's not from Donald McKeag, that nitwit that's haranguing. That's from somebody with a brain that's learned this. This is from a genius professor in 1887. The town of Plymouth, with a business community that services their debt with taxes, sales taxes, property taxes. Over 4 years, they've been diddly-dinking with those roads, not caring that it is the place where it all began, Plymouth, Massachusetts, that if any place should have had a hurry up, get those roads done, not just for people to visit, but because there's a high incidence of property owner, business owners that use the revenue, obviously to make a profit, to hire people, but also to pay the sales taxes. That they just lose that in selectmen and school committee. And they only get elected if they say they want to increase spending in education. Every president's done it, both parties. Not a one has the courage to say, listen, we're out of control. Not a one. Kenny, did you have something?
I got two things.
Go ahead.
I want to respond about the roads because something happened this week in Plymouth. But before I get to that, that caller wanted to know about the book signings, where they were.
Oh, well, thank you, Kenny. This is called, I've written a book. It's called, Well, At Least I Owned a Rolls Royce. It's about a person. It's a memoir, but education comes in, and being a business owner also comes in. And also the book is available on PayPal. My website is donaldmckeag.com. That's all you got to do, MCKEA.com, and up comes the website. But on top of that, you can't attend because unless you know somebody at Southport, wonderful place.
That's a closed one. It's not open to the
well,
public.
it isn't closed unless a lot of people know people that live over there, so you can always, they encourage people, they can come if they
So when would they call their friends at Southport?
Well,
so
they could
can
call
make
today,
arrangements to
tomorrow
go?
morning, and see if they want to. But anyway, and then I have another signing
Thank you.
Saturday down in Orleans for anybody that's heading to Orleans for the weekend at Booksmith, Music Smith, a great place. Matt and Janine. Thank you, Kenny.
Okay.
So now you wanted to talk
I want to
about
talk about the roads for a minute.
Plymouth roads that I've been really tough on.
I don't want to kill this topic, but it's something near and dear to the both of us. You and I have been talking for a long time about the old Route 44 and its deplorable conditions for years.
Yes.
That was a state project.
Well, of course.
Unfortunately, the town had very little to do with it.
Uh-huh.
Here's the glitch with the town. The DPW director went in front of the Board of Selectmen this past Tuesday night, and he proposed spending. He wanted to raise and appropriate $175 million. 135, thank you, Stevie. $135 million he wanted to raise and appropriate to take care of roads within the town of Plymouth.
After all that's been done, he wanted more, huh?
Well, he had nothing to do with the old 44.
Yep.
He wants to he claims he wants to take care of the rest of the roads in the town of Plymouth. Well, that on top of all-day kindergarten.
Well, they won't.
All-day kindergarten is going to hit $309 for every taxpayer household a year.
That's
increase.
Liberalism. Do you understand it? You understand. This is out of control liberalism that is bringing us to a cliff.
And
they cater to,
the 135
Yep.
would have brought mine and Stevie's tax bill, both of our tax bills independently, would have increased $900 a year.
Yep.
We can't do anything about the all-day kindergarten because you can't do anything to the schools.
And of course, heaven forbid you find out who goes to the all-day kindergarten and you find that there's illegal aliens who have no jobs or other Americans that have no jobs, and it's their kids, and they continue to have more kids because we pay them to have more kids so that then they can also go to the schools for nothing and do it. And when I talk about it, all the women go, isn't he cruel?
Well,
so,
now you have it in
Carver. You get what you deserve, ladies.
You've got all-day kindergarten in Carver, and it's nothing more than daycare.
Yeah. And it allows the mothers to go off and use their cell phone down there at some place. It's insane. And I don't mean I'm all for it for working mothers. The intent, it's not the way it is. And nobody ever oversees the abuse. Just like I'm talking about these drive. I told you, I drove by and I've driven by for 4 years, those road construction, see one guy there, one piece of equipment at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Then you see how many brakes they've got. Then you see... And was it Vinny DiMassino? Where are these guys? Never mind, it's a state project. That comes out of the State House. Where are they?
Where are they?
No, I mean, where are they in raising hell about it? If I was a state rep, I'd be raising hell about the state project with the road.
There is a problem with state monies. Stevie brought up
Of course
a very
it
good
is.
point
It's
the
a
other day.
disgrace.
It's about time that we took the excise tax, which you pay and I
Yep.
pay and everybody pays, and put it back to bridges and roads.
Yeah, but it never do.
That's where it belongs.
They robbed Peter to pay Paul, and you know, I told you what they did when they raised the meals tax.
Yep.
Okay. Then when I had the B&B, they raised the rooms tax. When they raised, it was one of the two, I forget now, it's been 5-6 years, some awful reporter had the temerity to say that when the police department or the fire department or both they didn't get a 5% raise. How about this for government workers? I don't give a darn. If you don't want to be a cop, I have compassion for them. I wouldn't want the job. But it's not like they're not making good money. They are. And when you get a 20 or 25% increase, and that 9.5, which was only like a 3% increase, was wiped out the day that the State House passed that increase in the rooms tax. They were already in the hole because of the raise to the Boston
Right.
Police Department.
Right.
And nobody says a word. Why? Because nothing's ever going to change until we're flat-ass broke. And I'm the bad guy. So, but anyway, so the other thing I wanted to go nationally, too, about what they do to Donald Trump. Donald Trump says nothing in the government is working. I've just pointed to schools, but of course, people in the government, they get resentful of that. That's why all those nitwit Republicans who are on the dole, they're senators or they're whatever, he's the only businessman. He's the only one that has a bottom line. And he's the only one that's made it on as well. His father left him a lot of money, I know. I know he says crazy things, which makes me worry that he's finding a way out, but he makes sense. And these liberals cannot and will not, and government employees certainly. They elected this boob in the White House whose only background was a Harvard grad that he got for nothing. I'm not saying he's not intelligent. He had zero experience. Zero. But he happened to be black, half black. Of course, we can't forget that half is white. He's black, which makes the Democrats and all the liberals happy that we've done this. Not whether or not he's done a good job. He didn't do a good job the first time. I heard a cute little story, by the way, Kenny. See if I can remember it. Christmas lights, to me, are like the people who voted for Obama the second time. Half of them don't work, and the others aren't very bright.
Very good, Don.
But anyway, here's Donald Trump. Here's Mitt Romney. He had the makings of a good president.
He did.
He had a nice family. He was a good example to the country. No good. Put in a guy who was a community director in Chicago, one of the rottenest cities, poorest managed, crime infested.
Highest murder rate in the country.
Highest murder rate in the country. He's the president. And give him a second try. And why? Because who's he support? All the unions and all the government workers. That's what the Democrat, it's the socialist. I was a Democrat all my life, ladies and gentlemen, until now. No, I voted for several Republicans. I voted for the best man the way we're all supposed to. Here's what I want to do about Muslims, though. Just so I wanted to read this. These are things I keep. These are all facts, by the way. That's why people shut off. What?
8 minutes.
8 minutes, okay. Just quickly. These are Muslim-oriented countries. That this country, when Trump says, we're not doing one right thing. Well, I already told you about the courts. At the Supreme Court level, we can't have 76% Christian, Judeo-religion country that's become great because of that foundation. We have boobs that were appointed to the Supreme Court that don't allow us to have the 10 Commandments, those horrible, horrible things said. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not steal your neighbor's wife. All those horrible things that we wouldn't want some other religion person to hear. Imagine how stupid that is. All right, let's look at how our Secretary of State, well, we know who we've got there, but it's not just him. It's just the state, Secretary of State and all the state ambassadors and all this bull. Kuwait votes against the United States 67% of the time. Morocco votes against the United States 70% of the time. United Arab Emirates votes against the United States 70% of the time. It goes on. India votes against, it goes on and on. Yeah, look at this. Egypt votes. We still, you and me, the taxpayers, Egypt, for example, after voting against the United States 79% of the time, still receives $2 billion in U.S. foreign aid annually. Jordan votes against the, never mind, these are Muslims. 71% of the time, they get $192,814,000 annually. Pakistan votes against the United States 75% of the time and rakes in $6,721,000. India votes against the United States 81% of the time, but likes getting $150 million from us. The question is, who the hell started this and why? These people actually want to bite us although we feed them. And if a politician brings up, the State Department goes wild. So no politician has the guts. That's what we've got. And I'm sorry, but that's probably near the end of the Don McKeag harangue today, but it's the truth, and I'm very sad for those people who have just lost it. They've just lost the direction, and I know it's because they don't know what they're doing, just like Christ on the cross. Forgive them, Father. They know not what they do, and that's what we've gotten because we've allowed the education, we've allowed the unions, we've allowed greed that's in all of us. Greed, sloth, lust. Everybody goes, oh, well, look at the sex that goes on right in public now when it used to be. You can't censor anything. Hollywood's just run amok. So anyway, I haven't got that good message, but I want to thank you for listening. And I wish I had better news. The book, I hope you can buy the book. You might like it. It's called, well, I used to own a Rolls Royce. And it's about, I grew up in Weymouth. It's about the restaurants. Those that don't know, I owned several restaurants, big ones on Cape Cod, Flying Bridge, and the Asa Burris House, and I played piano, and it's about the people I met. And anyway, you can buy it you can buy it too on Amazon, but PayPal's easy, and I ship it right out. And it's DonaldMcKeag.com. And that you punch that in, and my website will come right up. Kenny, did you have anything you wanted to end with? Have I missed anything other than throwing people off the train? I had more about, just think about stupid. You can't fix stupid. That's the Ron White that I play on the radio. People, you can't. You just, there's not a pill for it. Stupid is forever. And we've got people that are truly stupid with political correctness. And it is killing your grandchildren and your children, those that just play golf and keep voting Democrat. The only way I know of is to do what I do. Stop voting for them. I've got good friends in the Democratic Party. I tell them right up front, I'm sorry, I might not vote against you, but I'm not voting for you. That goes way back to then. I had one thing here that I wanted to... I'll end with my call to those of you that I do every day on my radio show. Again, I hope to hear from you on Saturdays, 11 to 1, 95.1 FM, WXTK. Martin Luther took on the entire Catholic Church. He was a devoted Roman Catholic priest in Germany who saw the corruption, the abuse of people, by the leadership of the Catholic Church. This is not against the Catholic religion. Don't interpret it that way. But he finally said, cowardice asked the question, is it safe? Expediency asked the question, is it politic? Vanity asked the question, is it popular? But conscience asked the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular. Each of us, if we're going to change anything, each of us, man, woman, black, white, Christian, Muslim, those that are truly caring about this country must take a position, must vote on positions and in towns and states because it's right, not because it's popular, safe, or because I'm a Democrat, my grandfather was a Democrat, I can't not vote Democrat. You're the problem. They're not doing the job anymore. God bless, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Kenny, we'll be back, what, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? 3 weeks. But you'll have an excellent rerun coming up. So, again, forgive the negativity, but it's not negativity if it's fact, if it's true, and I have to try. I love you. God bless you.